Hey guys, what's up? It's Nick again, here to teach you the basic boxing fundamentals. Consider this your 101 class on how to stand, hold your hands, and throw a punch with proper form and technique. But just remember, none of this should be used to hurt others, only in self-defense if and when necessary. This is more technique to connect to your body and to get a good workout and exercise. And the added benefit is that there is some self-defense capabilities. So with that in mind, first thing is the floor. Everyone always thinks that your punch happens here in your arms or in your shoulders. That's not correct at all. Every punch in the world starts from the floor. So let's talk about our feet. First thing you want to do is shoulder width apart, okay? Your feet are always going to stay in this shoulder width distance, okay? Never here and never on a tightrope. You always want them shoulder width apart. From here, if you're right-handed, your left foot is going to stay front, and that's what we call an orthodox position. You're going to bring your right foot back slightly, and then you're going to turn it about 45 degrees off to the outside of your body. So this is your proper base. That's what we call your fighting stance for your feet. Soften the knees, and you want to be able to move to the balls of your feet very easily, as this is how you're going to move and transition to different things in the boxing. So from there, from the feet, we talk about our hips and our shoulders. So if you notice, once my foot comes back, it turns my body slightly so that my left shoulder is a bit in front of my right. This is because our right hand has more power since we're right-handed, and we want to give it a little further to travel. And it also gives our opponent a smaller target to go for. So instead of standing straight on and giving them your whole body, you're only giving them this much, which creates a little bit more of an edge for you and for your opponent. From there, you want to bring your hands up. Now, you'll hear some things about people not making a fist or not tightening their fist until the last second of a punch. I don't believe in that. I have never been trained that. So just keep a nice tight fist the whole time. Bring your hands up to about your jaw, in between your temple and your jaw, and you want to just post them right there. And remember, elbows stay in, not out. I like to tell people, think T-Rex, not pterodactyl. Okay? So once you're in your stance and you've got your hands up, this is your fighting base. This should be where you start and finish every single punch, kick, combo, move, or block. Okay? So you never want to, again, as a refresher, move your feet one in front of the other, flare your elbows, or drop your hands. This is your proper stance, okay? Your elbows are protecting your body, your hands are protecting your face, your feet are positioned so that you're giving your opponent the smallest target, and you're ready to go. So from here, I'm going to turn to the side so you guys can see what my left hand does. From this position, we're going to throw our number one punch, known as the jab. Now the jab is a quick punch. It still should have some power to it, but where the power comes from is not here. Again, it's from the floor and the hip. It travels up from the ankle, the knee, the hip, the shoulder, and then extends out of your hand. Okay? And if you notice, my hand is turning 45 degrees. It goes from this position here to that position at the very end. That snap is where the power comes from. The other thing I like to tell people is to think about the return of your punch. So if you throw it out at, say, 20 miles an hour, when you bring it back, it should be 40 miles an hour. It should be as fast so that you can throw another punch. The quicker your hand gets back to your face, the quicker it can throw another punch. The last thing when you're throwing the jab or any punch is that you want to use your knuckles. A lot of people throw a punch like this and they're hitting with the top part of these knuckles, and that is a serious risk to injury for your hand and wrist. When you throw your punch, you want to keep your wrist straight and think with those two front knuckles. The other thing is, if you'll notice, my shoulder is coming out in front and protecting my chin on that side. So when I throw a punch, even if there's another punch coming this way, my chin is protected and you've only got a view of the top of my head. Okay? So that's our jab. Just remember, with your jab, use your hip and your shoulder to get it out there, and you can also take a small step forward to close the distance. And that looks something like this. Okay? If you're going to close the distance, you want to make sure that the step that you take lands on the ground at the same time that your punch lands on your opponent. Just like that, and then come back. Next, we'll talk about the cross, or your number two. When you throw a cross, you're going to pivot your foot, and it's called a cross because you have to travel across your body to get the punch out there. Now, if you notice, because of the way that I stand, this hand won't reach the target like this hand will. So in order to get it that far, you pivot your foot. And if you notice, that action turns my hip over, which in turn turns my shoulder over to put it right in the position I was with the jab. And again, fist, knuckles in, and bring it back. So the way the cross looks when you throw it is like that, okay? So if you're gonna throw these two punches together, what you wanna think of is your jab opens up the move for your cross. If you're gonna take a step with both of those punches, here, and you bring your foot with you to throw the cross. You never wanna be too far apart or too close together. Too far apart slows you down, too close together ruins your balance. Again, maintaining that shoulder width distance is crucial, especially if you want to throw punches with power, speed, and proper technique. So one of the things we like to do in drills with boxing is just throwing our ones and twos over and over and over again. These are what we call bread and butter punches. These are your number one and number two punch, that's why they're numbered as such. So if you're going to throw punches over and over again, trying to get better at them, you need to think of a target. I usually think of a 4-inch space because that's about the size of a target on someone's head, especially if they're holding their guard. Speaking of guard, that is what your 1 and 2 are for, is to get in between an opponent's guard. So think of that when you're throwing the punches and try to put your mind into your body and punch fast and go for the same punch right in the same spot every single time. And every time you stop, if you want to check your work, look in the mirror and maybe you can check your hand is perfectly straight. And if it's not, make the correction and think about it. Feel it in your mind and then just repeat it. Okay? The straighter your punches are, the harder it's going to be for an opponent to see them coming. So when you throw your punches, try not to lift your elbow first, try not to drop, then throw, and especially don't look and throw. And what I mean by that is don't look down or up. Try to keep your eyes centered with your opponent, and remember, keep your chin down and your hands up at all times. So one of the things that I like to tell myself as a mantra when I'm training, chin down, eyes up, hands fast. Chin down, eyes up, hands fast. All that means is my chin is here to protect my jaw, my eyes are looking forward to keep my eye on my opponent, and my hands are moving quickly in my head before I ever throw a punch. So that's your 2 basic punches. From there, you can get real creative and throw several different combos with just those 2 punches. For example, the basic jab cross, you can throw a flash 2, you can throw a jab cross, or you can throw what we call a flurry, which is going to be 4 or more punches in quick succession. That would be a flurry. Every time you throw a punch, you need to pivot your feet. And you need to remember that if you're closing distance, bring the back foot with you. So in review, first thing is your feet. Second thing is your hands. Third thing is your elbows. Once you're here, make sure to drop your chin, and now you're in proper fighting stance, ready to take on an opponent. But just remember, guys, this is for self-defense. You shouldn't go out looking to hurt someone. These techniques take a long time, they take a lot of practice, and just to throw a punch is only one half of it. To block a punch is the bigger part of it, and that's where things get real. So if you have friends or family members or other people around you that you'd like to train this with, make sure that you guys are wearing proper gear. Don't ever spar with someone with less than 16-ounce gloves unless you two have a very good base and a background in it. And also, make sure you're drinking plenty of water because this is HIIT cardio and it is going to definitely get you going and get your heart rate up and make you sweat. So once you're here in your base, my suggestion is to try to throw 50 to 100 punches with each arm every single day until you get to the point where you feel like you're ready to move on. But at that point, it's probably time for you to start hitting a bag or hitting something. Maybe not a friend, maybe a bag or a pillow or something on the wall that you can find yourself punching. And don't worry about power right at first. Start thinking more about technique. Good technique will beat power any day. Part of that is going to come down to your knuckle placement. Most of it's going to come down to your foot and your body placement and how you're able to move with those 2 things. So just stay spatially aware, keep your hands up, and remember, rule number 1, 2, and 3 is protect yourself at all times. So no matter what happens, if you end up having to use this in a self-defense capacity, or if you're just sparring with a friend because you guys have gotten to that level, never drop your hands. That's where you get caught. This should be home base. This should be where you always come back to. And one thing I always tell my students when I'm training, if one hand is out, the other hand needs to be guarding your face. And then when you go to throw the second hand, trade places, okay? You should never have both hands out at the same time. You're not Superman, neither am I, okay? So just remember, feet placement, hip placement, shoulder placement, and hand placement. Once you're here, all you really have to do is think about as straight and as quick as you can. And just relax. A lot of times people want to fight these with their muscles and throw punches like this, thinking that that's going to be the fastest way. It's not. Loose is fast, fast is king. Okay, so just relax, take a deep breath, let your shoulders fall down, keep your elbows here, keep your hands up, and just throw punches and have fun. Keeping in mind that your form here is going to dictate the type of workout that you get. So if you want to get a really good workout and you want to use boxing as your methods, this is the way to get into it and to start it from scratch with no experience and be able to really quickly get yourself into a mode where you're boxing and you're doing it like a professional.